Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
5:06, we are clear, we are coherent, and we are on the job here, ready to express every idea and opinion in a very systematic way so you can pick up every idea. Right, Julie Gunlock?
Absolutely.
First, turn your microphone on there.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, one of us is ready. The other one is still sort of
All right.
tossing the cobwebs out
day.
of her head here. Not very clear on what she's trying to... You get... Wait, I mean, can you finish the sentence that you started 5 minutes ago before we went on the air?
No, because we're going on the air.
All right. At 6:35, Matthew Hurt will join us, chair of the Arlington County Republican Party, where there's been some vandalism against Trump signs. Hey, if Arlington is so blue, why do they have to destroy the Trump signs? Why do they care?
What's the threat?
Interesting. 7:05, James Rosen, Newsmax White House correspondent. 7:35, Trevor Maddich on a stunning victory on the road for the Commanders yesterday. 8:05, Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist, and the new book, The Big Guy. 8:35, Matt Whitaker, former acting U.S. Attorney General, joining us to talk about all the additional lawfare now getting thrown Trump's way here in the final weeks of the campaign, including this outrageous decision by the Justice Department.
My God.
To make public this alleged letter from the attempted assassin. We'll get into the details of this letter, but I guess we should get into the details first. In a legal filing, 1 week after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the Justice Department made the case why he should not be released in any way whatsoever because he's still a threat to our nation, our Constitution, and, oh, by the way, Donald Trump. And one of the pieces of evidence that they put forth to prove that case was a letter that, I got to say, allegedly was written by this assassin, because if you look at the Justice Department's filing, nowhere in there do they say that they have independently verified that this letter was actually written by this would-be assassin. Apparently, months before the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, this guy dropped off a box of things to somebody in North Carolina. 3 days after his arrest, this person in North Carolina contacted the FBI and said, hey, that guy you just arrested for trying to assassinate Trump, he dropped off a bunch of stuff at my house. So then he opened the box. By the way, would you just sit on that box for a couple of months if somebody dropped? Hey, just leaving this here for safekeeping. You say, oh, okay, here, just put it under my kid's crib.
Yeah.
What? I mean, you're not looking in that box the second that dude leaves?
Right.
There's something weird going on here. Anyway, in it was a bunch of phones, by the way, which is a bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
Some bullets, a pipe, a bunch of stuff, and this letter. This letter that is addressed to the world, by the way. What a narcissistic megalomaniac this guy is. Dear world, he says in the letter. And then he says this was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I failed. Well, this is interesting. Was there another letter that said, yes, I'm the one who assassinated Donald Trump? That could be. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, why would he only leave a letter that says, I failed, right? So my hunch here, again, Justice Department, I love how they decide what they're going to be transparent about and what they're not going to be transparent about. They only released this letter that he wanted everyone to read should he have failed. So well done, DOJ, doing exactly what the psycho wanted.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some of the contents of the letter, but first, the broader principle here. How long did it take us for us to get the manifesto from the Covenant Christian School, transgender motivated freak that murdered a bunch of Christian kids because she was...
Which they actually said, we don't want to motivate anyone. We don't want copycats.
And that's not the only time we get that. We get it all the time.
All the time.
We have the manifesto. They delete their social media accounts. You don't get to see what they said on Facebook. You don't get to see what they said in their YouTube videos because they don't want to inspire a copycat.
And here we are.
Here we've got this guy, and in the letter, he is literally inspiring copycats.
Not only that, he's offering rewards.
Yes, he said, I didn't do it, but if you finish the job, I'll give you $150,000.
And let's also remember, this guy had like $68 in his bank account. So.
And yet he was able to fly from Hawaii to Florida.
So many
After
questions.
he arrived in Florida, he was able to acquire an AK-47. Yeah. He had all those phones in this box that he stashed months ahead of time. But you're right. He didn't have a penny to his name. He was a vagrant. He was a hobo. Just like, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Right.
So they tell us they don't want to release these things because it might inspire a copycat. And then they release this letter that, again, I want to, if anyone works at the DOJ and they would like to call in and say, oh, no, Larry, you got that wrong. We verified this. This definitely came from him.
Yeah.
Please correct the record. But if you read the filing in the Justice Department, all they say is a witness claims this guy dropped it off. They don't even have independent verification that this guy dropped off a box of materials. Right.
We just have to take his word for it.
Maybe they did a DNA check on the letter. I don't know. But all it says and all we can go on is what the legal filing states. And the legal filing states that a witness claimed that this stuff got dropped off in that box that this guy claims was dropped off by the would-be assassin is a letter that is alleged to have been written by the would-be assassin. And then it's published for all the world to see.
It's not. Also, it's published in whole. They didn't redact it. You know what the FBI and DOJ love? They love that little black marker where they take out all relevant facts. So basically, you're left with a letter that says, Dear blank, and then at the bottom, signed blank.
Right.
Like, you can see
here's our evidence.
Those are the only parts of the letter.
Oh, that's how they redacted every court filing about Russian collusion.
But nothing is redacted in this letter.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. And actually, so... yes and no. They only released a picture. By the way, the picture of that letter that they released was taken by the person in North Carolina. DOJ didn't even take that picture of the letter that they released. That's not even...
Wow.
So again, they could have gone through all this verification, but they don't claim in their court filing that they did all that verification. And all they released was the front page of the letter, Julie, actually. So the final sentence of the letter says... be kind, caring, and selfless, and always stand up for humanity. Trump fails to understand any of, and then that's the end of the first page. So they didn't release the entire letter. However, the Justice Department then went on in their court filings after releasing a photograph of the first page of the letter to include another line from the letter that is not in this first page. So clearly the DOJ has read this entire letter. And they went out of their way to put in their court filing something that appears on the second page of the letter that gives a rationale and motive for murdering Donald Trump.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
They say also in the letter, also contained in the letter is this line. And the line says something like, he walked away from the Iran nuclear deal like a child, and now the Middle East is in turmoil.
Yeah.
Why would they release that line of the letter, which, by the way, is let me just put it this way. If you are very angry, so angry that you could be brought to violence over the things that are going on in the Middle East, in other words, if you're a Hezbollah sympathizer or a Hamas sympathizer, if you're one of those anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protesters that have been, causing violence on college campuses, you're going to see that line.
Oh, I know.
And say, everything in the Middle East right now is Trump's fault.
Larry, I will tell
So
you.
says the assassin. And the Justice Department rips that sentence out and puts it. They didn't have to release that line.
No, they didn't.
It's not even on this in the picture.
Well, I will tell you also, anybody in this business and anybody who's, sort of been in media at all, you've seen these letters from crazy people.
Yes.
This doesn't look like that.
No, it doesn't.
I will tell you this.
This is not your typical.
And I'm not going to read.
We get fan letters here at the radio station that look a little more.
The tiny writing in the margins and like the highlights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This looks like it's written by a normal person. I'm not going to read it. And what he says in this letter, it doesn't say, it's crazy, obviously, but it doesn't sound like the ramblings of an insane person.
No, this is not I know.
And I'm telling you, that makes it even more dangerous.
Everything about listen, dude, I know that you're all used to like rolling into the show here at 5 a.m. and we're sort of having a, nice, pleasant conversation and we sort of ramp up over the 4 hours, but we are so already ramped up about the irresponsibility of this. They could have made their entire case about keeping this guy behind bars without putting this photograph of the letter. They could have mentioned the letter, referenced the letter, then redacted the letter. Why did they do this? This is despicable.
I think we know.
We've got more details on this in a moment. First, though, it's 5:15, WMAL, traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes, first on the fives. We're very hyped up right now, Jamie Whitten. So you got to calm us down with a very pleasant, drizzly, foggy traffic report from the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Let's give you the zen.
Thank you.
All right. WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We're talking about the curious decision by the Justice Department to release in their court filings a photograph of a letter that is alleged to have been written by the would-be Trump assassin and then alleged to have been dropped off at a home in North Carolina months ago. And many people say, well, how could he, project ahead of time that he was going to fail in the assassination attempt? Good question. I have no idea. Justice Department didn't explain the other contents of the box. Maybe he had two letters, one if he were successful, one if he were not successful. Who knows? But the Justice Department decided that they would release just a week after, in the middle of this campaign, in the middle of an election, where Donald Trump has already had to endure 2 assassination attempts in as many months, this letter that basically reads, as you said, not like the rantings of a lunatic per se, although clearly in retrospect we know he is a lunatic. But by the way, what he does say is directly lifted from Joe Scarborough's morning monologue on MSNBC.
Yeah.
And he goes on to offer $150,000 to anyone who finishes the job, as he puts it. And why no one at Merrick Garland's Justice Department said, listen, in the current political climate, maybe we shouldn't release such things because it'd conspire further violence against Donald Trump.
Well, and that
but
is
clearly
what we
no
hear.
one there.
That
no
is
one there did.
the Covenant School in Tennessee. We hear there was a manifest that this young woman had written prior to this mass murder she committed in this Christian school, and they wouldn't release it, any section of it, because they said it will inspire copycats.
Actually, partly, but actually the bigger story that I heard from them as to why they weren't going to release that, not because it would inspire copycats, but they were afraid there would be anti-trans violence from all the crazy right-wing bigots who would take it out.
It was both.
But it did take months and months and months to get that. Now, listen, I mean, part of me is like, hey, nice to see the Justice Department finally wants to show a little transparency here and release information. 7 days? I got an idea. How about some more information about the other assassin and all the questions that we have about that guy? Number one. Number two, how about information about the decision-making process leading up to the raid on Mar-a-Lago? No, that stuff we're not going to get until after we get a new president, clearly. But this absolutely is horrendous, outrageous, disgusting, and it adds to the ongoing suspicion and contempt that people have for all the experts that we're supposed to, revere and defer to. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't take an expert to figure out that this is a completely irresponsible decision made by this Justice Department and a political decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are supposed to have trust in our institutions. I wonder why we don't.
Yeah.
We don't get any information. They do stuff like this. Trump has been nearly assassinated twice. There's zero interest from the media. They are desperately trying to memory hole it. And then the Justice Department does something like this. I mean, it's almost like someone wants him killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I'm a big conspiracist if I say that.
Well, I mean, listen, we just cited the poll yesterday. The 28% of Democrats polled said that it would have been a good thing.
Yeah. And
Trump
25 were undecided. Well, don't really know.
Heritage Foundation put out a great side-by-side example on the left, how the Justice Department documents that justify raiding the home of former President Trump, and it literally is an entire page with one sentence unredacted, and the rest is all blacked out. Yeah. That's what was released to the public in their court filing. But in the court filing about keeping this would-be assassin behind bars, they give a full letter that, again, I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job.
And they released that. I cannot believe it.
Yeah. And I really want to, and if I did not explain myself properly, let me just take my time because I was trying to get it out quickly because I was a little hyped up. They have not released a photograph of the second page of this letter. But in the second page of the letter is a line justifying this guy's attempt to kill Donald Trump. And he specifically says, one of the reasons he did this was because he walked away from the Iran nuclear deal like a child, is how he put it, which is absolutely a Joe Scarborough line, and said, and now the Middle East is on the brink of war and in turmoil because of it. We know for a fact that Iran has assassination attempts out on the life of Donald Trump. That very same Justice Department has confirmed that they are on the lookout for Iran-backed assassins. Yeah. There are radical, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, pro from the river to the sea protesters and activists in this country, well-funded in this country. And they have access to some very fragile minds right now, drumming up hatred centered around the state of Israel and around the turmoil, not the nation of Israel, and the war that's going on in Gaza. Just one of those people seeing that this guy was motivated to kill Donald Trump because Trump's responsible for what's going on in Israel right now. That's all it takes. And the Justice Department went out of their way to put that line in their public filing unredacted.
What is going on?
There is no reason for that. There is literally no reason other than to make the case to kill Donald Trump.
Well, and I mean,
honestly, you cannot tell me otherwise. Are you really telling me that if it weren't in there, the judge would have said, well, we're going to have to release this guy on bail?
I think we know after, things we've watched for hundreds of years of going on in the Middle East is there are certain people who are willing to die for a cause.
That's right. And they don't need much more motivation.
They don't.
And the Justice Department gave them it. Matt Whitaker used to work in that Justice Department. He was a former U.S. attorney, and he's going to join us at 8:35. Right now, it's 5:23. It's 5:36. Thanks for being part of our morning routine here, and thanks for letting us be a part of your morning routine. It's O'Connor and Company coming up at 6:35. Matthew Hurt, chair of the Arlington Republican Party. 7:05, James Rosen, Newsmax White House correspondent. 7:35, Trevor Maddich will break down the Commanders' huge win on Monday Night Football. Then at 8:05, Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist with a new book called The Big Guy. 8:35, Matt Whitaker, former DOJ stud. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. That's right, Matt Whitaker's a stud.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Yesterday we told you about the state of the Larry Hogan, Angela Alsobrooks race for Senate and where things stand right now in that race. But now we have a new development. Broke throughout the day yesterday that Angela Alsobrooks, the former Prince George's County executive and the former state's attorney for that area, the state of Maryland, cheated on her taxes.
Yes, and this is on top of that $40,000 taxpayer-led trip to Africa.
Right, to Africa that was on the taxpayer dime.
I'm still on that scandal.
Right.
And now we've moved on to another scandal.
And now they stack up. Yeah, she received improper property tax credits on 2 homes. She's promised to pay back whatever back taxes she owes, by the way.
How nice.
Which, of course, is nice once you're caught,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
I'm just wondering, as, she's doing the Kamala Harris thing, just like Wes Moore does the Obama thing, where he doesn't actually talk about anything, but he poses and looks good in pictures, right? When he's stealing valor and claiming he got a Bronze Star when he didn't.
My God.
Angela Alsobrooks is doing the mini-me Kamala Harris thing as well. They go way back, those two. And she's constantly, if you look at her campaign, she doesn't talk much about what she did as Prince George's County executive because, I think it speaks for itself.
Right.
But I'm a prosecutor. I'm tough on crime. I'm a prosecutor. Just like Kamala Harris. It's like, look at my job. Okay, well, how good a prosecutor you are, because I'm thinking if somebody broke a law like this in Prince George's County, do you think that Angela Alsobrooks would be like, oh, that's fine. Just pay your back taxes and everything will be fine.
Right.
If she's such a tough prosecutor, why isn't she prosecuting herself here?
Yeah.
Why isn't she saying, you know what, I broke the law and I should pay the price beyond just paying back taxes? By the way, these, of course, are tax credits that Democrats carved out in Prince George's County, in the state of Maryland, in Washington, D.C., specifically to help the elderly and the impoverished. And it's funny how they do that. They carve all these things out to ostensibly help the poor, and they get to pat themselves on the back for doing such great things for the needy, poor people that are poor because of their bad policies in the first place. Yeah. And then she takes advantage of it and enriches herself from it.
I think it's really important also to say that she saved this money in taxes, around $14,000, between 2005 and 2017. This isn't oops, I made one mistake, or a couple times I made a mistake on my tax warrants. I mean, that's
habitual.
That's 12 years. Yeah. Of getting these carve-outs meant for the poor and elderly that she took advantage of.
Well, here, there's great news here, Julie Gunlock, because for Republicans in Maryland who have been waiting for Larry Hogan to show up in this campaign and go for the jugular, this is a great opportunity, right? Listen, here, think about all of the biting, sniping, full frontal attacks on Donald Trump that we have seen from Larry Hogan for the last 8 years of our life, right? We know he has it in him. We know that he can just cut like a knife. We know that when he is facing up against a political opponent and he wants to score points, especially when there's a vulnerability like this, like, think about it. Your Democrat opponent for Senate has been caught cheating on her taxes.
Kind of perfect.
So let's play Larry Hogan's incredible television appearance, because he goes on TV all the time, to go up against Donald Trump. He's got something mean to say about Donald Trump. He's got a red carpet on television. Every network is ready to have him. So let's hear what he had to say yesterday against Angela Alsobrooks. Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently he didn't do any TV appearances about. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. That's because of that left-wing mainstream media. They don't want to have Larry Hogan on now, that it might help him and help Republicans go after Angela Alsobrooks. So the TV networks didn't. But I'm sure the Washington Post or one of the local newspapers got a statement from him or something. So hang on, let me just scan here and read it. Here it is. There is a statement from. Oh, well, it's not from Larry Hogan.
Oh, darn.
It's from his campaign spokesperson.
Oh.
Blake Kernan.
What'd Blake have to say?
Blake said it's deeply disturbing that Angela Alsobrooks thinks the rules don't apply to her. She campaigns on raising taxes while failing to pay her own and taking advantage of tax credits reserved for the poor and elderly. She claims to be unaware of tax laws it was her job to enforce.
Powerful. Boy, I'm swayed.
So Larry Hogan is trying to win this race, I assume. And we know sir, and I'm trying to be as generous as possible. When he wants to attack somebody politically, he's really good at it, because we saw him do it during the Trump presidency and the 2 years after the Trump presidency. So here he's got this wide open target on his political opponent in the middle of a campaign, 42 days away from Election Day. And he puts out a written statement from his spokesperson,
Blake,
who says it's deeply disturbing. How about Angela Alsobrooks is a crook? And she shouldn't be anywhere near the United States Senate.
Can you imagine Blake reading that back?
I actually like Blake Kernan. Blake Kernan is the daughter of the dude on Joe Kernan on CNBC.
Oh,
She's a fine spokesperson. It's not Blake's fault. But where the hell is Larry Hogan? He's been mired. He's been wanting something to go with. You're right. Governor Hogan, please come on this show, and we'll give you several minutes to attack Angela Alsobrooks and give Republicans a reason to vote for you. Why doesn't he want to give us a reason to vote for him?
He's like, can I just, okay, fine. But can I take a little time to bash Trump?
It's like pulling teeth. Yeah, that's what the statement's going to be. Just like Donald Trump, Angela Alsobrooks is unfit for office. And now let me spend the next 5 minutes to tell you why Donald Trump is unfit for office.
These people, we're so bad at this.
Maybe they're a little slow. Maybe it's, it was a fast-moving story yesterday. It's been 30 hours, I think, since it first hit. Eventually, I'm sure Larry Hogan will put something out there. It's 5:43.
Breaking news and the inside story.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Sticking with this Senate race in Maryland, there's another dynamic here that's going on, which I guess we should all get used to. A Democrat is lying with abandon about a Republican, and the Republican is having to spend most of his campaign time defending himself against the lie. And the lie in this case is specifically about abortion. Here's a part of an Alsobrooks ad that you are seeing all over the place, running 24/7 on local television ad nauseum.
Larry Hogan praised Trump.
We should give President Trump all the credit he deserves for his accomplishments in office.
And said Trump
nominated incredible justices to the Supreme Court.
Even after they took away abortion rights. With Larry Hogan, Republicans win, we lose.
So obviously you can tell, knowing Larry Hogan the way everybody knows Larry Hogan, that whatever those remarks were from Larry Hogan were sliced and diced like a freaking sushi chef there sitting with a ginzu, doing an infomercial. So now, of course, Larry Hogan says, dude, I was governor for 8 years. I didn't do anything about abortion. If anything, I was way pro-abortion.
I'm Larry Hogan. As governor, I promised to uphold Maryland law on abortion while providing over-the-counter birth control covered by insurance. And I kept my word. Today, with Roe overturned, many have asked what I'll do in the United States Senate. I'll support legislation that makes Roe the law of the land.
All right, fine. He's like, Greg, give me a
Yay,
reason.
abortion.
Give me a reason to just, not vote in this election. That's fine. That's honestly, beyond that, I've got a bigger picture story here. I know a young mother who has small children, 6 and 4 years old. And they watch TV. They have the local television on for whatever reason in the house, obviously, and that's just a thing that happens. And these ads are running relentlessly over and over and over again. And I'm sure that this is repeated all across Maryland right now on this. And it's just like constant abortion. Now imagine having a 7, 8-year-old kid, and you're seeing this all the time on television, and you're aware, you know what it's like to have little children. Yeah. And your little daughter says, Mommy, what's abortion?
Yeah.
And this is a real thing that's happened to this young mother that I know in Maryland. And it's like...
Well, also, did you hear the upbeat music with that ad?
You're right. But let me... Shouldn't a parent be able to bring up a topic that explicit and that sensitive and that horrific at their own at a time of their own choosing with their child? Why does this need to... You're right about the tone of the ad, and we'll get to that in a second. But just the fundamental aspect of the fact that this kind of topic is being thrust into our faces in the middle of the day. This is daytime television, and parents now have to... I mean, it's like... Honestly, the only answer is shut off the television and not let... But it's daytime television. The kids could have been watching cartoons for all we know. Yeah. And they're injecting incredibly sensitive, incredibly adult conversation into the home against a parent's will. And it's just inappropriate and it's wrong. But this is the world we're living in because it's all Angela Alsobrooks and the Democrats have.
Yeah, that's all they're going to talk about. But I do find that upbeat, sing-songy music that Hogan used in that ad to be particularly gross.
Well, it's because he's trying to not be a villain and he's trying to offset this.
Larry Hogan praised Trump.
We should give President...
Right, where they're trying to make him look like Darth Vader.
Yeah, there are other ways that he could have handled this and still not turning off pro-life Marylanders, which he just conveyed to every pro-life Marylander. Look,
right, I know.
I want Hogan in office. I want him to win against Alsobrooks. I get it. I'm not one of these, people who say, you have to be pure.
I would love Larry Hogan to show up on day one, vote a Republican majority into the Senate, and then I'm not expecting much from him.
No, I'm not either. But
that's enough.
Yeah, but again, that ad turns off pro-lifers in the state.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
But listen, obviously he has figured out in his mind that his path to victory is not caring about pro-life voters and not caring about pro-Trump voters. That's fine. We can debate that strategy all we want. He has won statewide twice in a row, so maybe he knows what he's doing, that's fine. The bigger issue here is that these two are going to go back and forth for the next 43 days with these ads, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get more graphic. Angela Alsobrooks will stop at nothing. They'll start showing abortion procedures in their ads. They'll start and
they'll start saying women are going to die en masse in Maryland.
Right. And children are going to see this, and they're going to say, "Explain this to me, Mommy, Daddy. What are they talking about?"
Turn the TVs off.
Turn the TVs off is the only solution. And again, this is just more of the degradation of our culture, the degradation of our conversations that we have as a culture, as an American family. And it's because of the craven desire to win at all costs that the Democrats have right now. And we're worse off for it. I mean, just wait until she goes after him over gay and trans rights and look at the videos that'll be part of that ad campaign. It's just... There's two different paths in this country, and one of them is very, very dark, and it's a political path, sadly. And I'm glad I'm not on that path. It's 5:53.